Hi, and welcome to the End of Life Journey and Beyond, the Sands of Time. My name is Lisa Strahs-Lorenc, and I'm a bereavement specialist. Hello, Susan. Good to see
Hi,
you.
Lisa. Welcome today. My name is Susan Capurso. I'm an end-of-life doula and legacy specialist and trainer. And today we're talking about a very important day that's near and dear to Lisa's heart. So I'm going to pass the reins this morning and let's hear a bit more about this subject today, Lisa.
Sure. So, as most of us who have lost loved ones, today is the anniversary of my husband's passing. Today is 14 years. Very bittersweet. Number one, it's hard to believe it's 14 years. Number two, I'm so happy that he's not suffering anymore because he did suffer. And number three, it's incredible how much has happened in that time period. So, a lot of what we're going to talk about today is about handling anniversaries and the words moving on versus moving forward and what that means to different people. I just want to share a little bit about the things that I do for me. They work for me, they may not work for others, but these are things that have become traditions for me, and they help me. They help me get through the day, and they help me bring him with me where I am. So number one, I found a movie that was special to us, and it was Ghost. Patrick Swayze is amazing in that movie. Whoopi Goldberg, Demi Moore. It's a great movie and such a beautiful movie that really symbolizes the everlasting life. That's what it's about. So beautiful, just wonderful, beautiful movie. So I watch that every year. I also post. So I'm on Facebook, of course, a lot. I'm on LinkedIn, and I do a lot of posting. And I share albums. So I have an album that I share every year. It has a lot of pictures from when he was born and the last pictures that we took together, and all in between family pictures. And I share that on Facebook. And what's really nice is that my family and friends always comment on these pictures, on the album. It makes you feel like you're really remembered, that you're cared for, that people think about you. And I like that. And again, this is just me. There are others who won't post, don't feel comfortable doing this, but it helps me. It helps me feel like he's with me and that he's still being and his life is being celebrated. And I want to read, there's been a lot of comments, but I want to read one comment. And this is somebody who I worked with way back from 2012 to 2014. So we're talking a number of years ago. And the fact that she still makes comments and that we're still friends, and it's what she wrote that I really want to, because this is really the essence of what I'm talking about today. She writes, "Sending love your way. You honor his life and memory so well, Lisa. I admire how you have kept him so close, but have been able to move on." And that really is exactly what I want to talk about.
I'm glad you read that. That's
She got
beautiful.
it. She got it. And people hopefully get that and understand that. So the fact that I've been able to honor him, celebrate him through that memorial website that we've shown before, that I've been able to, talk about him to my grandchildren. I share pictures all the time. I say grandpa this and all. They feel like they know him through me. And that is exactly what I want. And that's how the memory of somebody lives on.
Now that's beautiful, but can I interrupt on that?
Okay,
So not everybody likes to play on social media. Not
absolutely.
everybody likes to go on the computer and they go on to watch their email or hopefully our video our videos here
Absolutely.
today.
Absolutely.
But not everybody. And then even if you do go on the computer and go on to social media, and some people are more private,
Absolutely.
so there's other ways to celebrate,
This
which
is
we'll talk
this
about
is a
more.
very personal. I'm speaking only about me personally and how I have decided to honor his memory, celebrate his life, and keep him with me and move on. Okay. So I think I'm going to share this screen because this is about grief. And I want to talk about this because it's a really interesting different philosophy, and it's the right way of looking at things, I feel.
And I
Let
think
me share the
we've
screen,
shown
please.
this in one of our videos before.
We have, and I want to share it again because it really shows something important. So the top line, where people tend to believe that grief shrinks over time. So you have your jar of life, and the grief ball is huge. And then the next jar, it's getting smaller, and the next jar, it's smaller. That's what people think. Now I'm going to tell you what really happens and what I believe, okay, is a better explanation about grief. You have your jar of life and you have your grief ball. Now you see how the jar is getting bigger? That's your life jar, your new life. And the last one, your new life, grief is still there. You see how it hasn't disappeared? But your jar of life gets bigger. And that's what really happens, was we grow around our grief. I love that explanation. And that might not resonate with everybody, but that is really how I believe grief works. It's never going to disappear. Never.
It's a great analogy. It's a great analogy because even with the size of the grief, right? That's the size of the grief doesn't shrink like that.
That's right.
Somehow it still stays within you. You know,
right.
I'm over 7 years now, and the grief still always stays in your jar of life. But I really like how the larger jar portrays how we can fit other things into our life, still have the grief, but still have that full, large jar called our lives.
Correct. So I love that. And that is a great introduction to moving on or moving forward. Now I'll tell you and these are semantics, and people are pretty sensitive about them. But for me, after he died, I changed my email to lisamovingon@gmail.com. My book, my second book, which is all about what happened to us after the years go by throughout the grief process. It's called Families Move On. And I talk about moving on. Now, I understand that some people say, well, that means that you've forgotten about him. Untrue. So the semantics here are between moving forward and moving on. And whatever is right for you, whatever resonates with you, whatever you feel comfortable with, the important thing is that you're creating a new life. We all know that our lives will never be the same. They can't be. They won't be. And it's a challenge for everybody to find that new life. And that happens at different times and different stages for people. And that's why we all have to be very understanding about how everybody works. But for me, I've been able to move on by creating new things for myself, new interests, out of my comfort zone, going to different things, going to different clubs. I think about the first year versus the second year, and what a difference. The first year I was still trying to get sort of paperwork and all the things that people do, And the second year I was absolutely ready to meet new people, to start, and this is me personally, because time is very different for everybody. And I want everybody to understand that. I'm not saying, okay, now after this year you do this year you do that. That's not true. But I'm sharing with you how it went with me and how I started looking for single friends and looking for activities just to be able to be with others, and have a life and a new life. And it was hard. It was challenging and it was hard. And again, same thing with losing a parent or losing a sibling or losing a child. I mean, all this time frame is very different for everybody. But eventually, you realize that we're here to live. And that honors the people who loved us. And that's my feeling about life. And so I know.
I got to interrupt you just because we've had this conversation before we started recording today and many other days, I'm
Yeah.
very sensitive to the words moving on.
Yep, I know you are.
But when you say moving forward, I resonate with that better. So just know that you could be sensitive to those words, moving
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to move on. And it's not good though, and it's not healthy to say I don't want to move on, because you can't stay back there. What's in your rear view mirror in your car is already behind you.
Okay.
You can't go back.
That's
You
true.
know, so I understand that. But the idea of moving on means just forgetting and starting a new chapter and a new life. Moving forward, to me, represents it a little better for me. I know
And
not you.
it
I
is,
know
and
not
it is
you.
personal. That's why I read what this woman said, because what she said was, I admire how you kept him so close, but have been able to move on. And that is exactly what I've done with my life.
Right.
So I've not ever forgotten him. He's never left me and all the memories we have and the life that we had. But I've been able to move on to create a new life for myself.
Right. And
Right?
I can understand
Yeah.
that. Yes.
Yes. Yes. And again, whatever semantics you use, I'm trying to show that you have to find what works for you. You know, getting through the day even. You know, some people might just crawl up in a ball and that's it for them. You know, I'm doing things that
And
honor
sometimes it
him.
is, if you're in the
Yeah.
very beginning of that timeline.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, you
Absolutely.
will crawl up into a ball and not care.
That's right.
But you need to go through that.
That's right. That's right. That's the grief process. And by the way, that's the other thing that people tell me, you know, I'm afraid I'll be crying forever and I'll never be able to not cry. It feels like that. But it, you know, the therapeutic process is to cry. You know, I tell people all
It's
the time,
necessary.
you know, I said to somebody about that rabbi who said that the tears that I cried are a remembrance of that person. And he said that at my mother's funeral. And it really resonated with me, you know, because
I heard something really similar to that this past weekend. I watched a couple spiritual movies on TV, and in one of them, they used that kind of meaning, but they said something like, but the extent and the depth of your grief only, you know, it only expresses the depth of the love that was there.
Right. That's right.
That you share.
That's right.
You know, so
And the memorial website does that for me too. You know, as I posted a virtual flower today and a candle, I saw 3 other friends posted. And that really is, they wrote beautiful things about our love, about, you know, they had known him. I mean, all these things keep him close.
Oh wow, there were people posted on there that didn't even know him.
That's correct.
Wow.
And that makes me feel so good, because again, you know, they know what I've spoken about, they know me, and what they wrote about, you know, wishing they had known him and the love that we had for each other just makes you feel so, you know, comforted. So I share the website.
When I think about these things that you're saying and the ways that you've celebrated him, you know, every year and constantly up front and forward, I do admire that as well. Like your girlfriend said, I do admire that, because sometimes people don't know how to respond as the years move on.
Yeah.
So things get quieter.
Yeah.
Right?
Quieter to me.
And when you're not putting it out there,
yeah,
they're not putting it out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's how it's happened in my world, because although I'm on social media, you know, for business and different things all the time, I still have that little girl part of me that just doesn't want to share my private things like that. So that's why I mentioned that at the beginning.
Yeah.
And by me not sharing and not putting it out there, I'm not being comforted by other people, because people are afraid to say anything to me.
That's right.
And it can be a vicious circle. I see that.
It's true. And I'm not telling people to be what they're not, but I am showing that as you do put out things and as you do open up, that people are able to then receive that and give back as well. And, people don't know what to say and people don't know what to do. And here they're taking my lead because I am posting and I am sharing,
Right.
his life. And if he were it was just another day, to me, he'd be forgotten. And that to me, because when I'm gone, I don't want to be just forgotten. Okay.
Yeah.
This is very emotional, because to me, the only way to keep somebody's memory alive and their life alive is by always talking and always sharing, but in the same respect, still understanding that there's a balance. There's a balance in our lives. I mean, listen, I'm with a widow, so he has his memories too. And he talks about, her and her life, and we share things, from our past. And I'm glad we do, because that keeps her memory alive as well. Does he share as much as me? No, but that's me. Again, you have to find your personality and find what's right for you. But creating that new life and knowing that you are celebrating the past by moving on and or moving forward, whatever you're comfortable with, is the greatest gift that you could give the love that you had for each other. I told you, and I'm going to say it again, what my husband said before he died. He said, promise me you will not live alone the rest of your life. And that's an amazing gift to say to somebody.
Amazing. So amazing. And many people don't get that.
I know. I'm very grateful that he said that. And I know he meant it. And I would have hoped that I would have said the same thing to him if I were in the same situation. So, again, it's creating the new life at your pace, in your realm, in your worldview. And that's why I wrote that book, because I had followed families for 10 years and we each moved on in a different way. I saw some people who got married. I saw some people who had children, grandchildren, some people who decided to honor their parents or something by doing a trip or something. I mean, they all found different ways. And that's when my book is called Families Move On. Because as we looked at the first year, the second year, the fifth year, the 10th year, and onward, we realized that each of us were doing this in a different way that was right for us. And that's an important lesson. I'm not telling everybody to do it this way or this is the only way. No way am I saying that.
What were some of the other examples of the families? Does anything
Yeah,
stand out to you now?
Yeah, so one of the sisters said that she had always promised her sister that she'd go to college, and she did. So she went back to school at a later age and got a degree. And they had always talked about this. And she said to honor her memory, I'm going to do exactly what we had talked about, which I thought was beautiful. Just beautiful. And other people decided that, marriage or that another relationship is not right for them at all. So they're very close to their children or their grandchildren. They've traveled a lot. A number of people have done a lot of traveling. They've gone to places that they said, oh, I really wanted to go there. And now they did it, instead of waiting, which is really nice. And even just getting back with other family members that they might have been out of touch with. And they reassessed and said, hey, it's time to speak to such and such again. Just beautiful. And struggling. I mean, struggling through the first year, trying to figure it out in the second year, and trying to live a life and create a new life. Not easy for any of us. The process,
and especially, people really don't understand unless they've really been through it themselves, and then they understand.
That's true.
The depth.
It's true.
So it's really important to, reach out to those friends who really do understand as well.
And let me talk to those friends, okay? And it's not easy. But sometimes you have to help move people a little too. Even though they say, hey, don't call me, I don't need any help, call them anyway and say, hey, I'm just thinking of you. Okay. Or say to them, hey, let's just go out for a cup of coffee. I don't feel like it. Well, you know what? Let's give it a try. Listen, your friends and you know how much to push, but sometimes you just have to take it a little bit further, because those are the people who, I'll tell you, I appreciate it. They'd be at my door and they would say, let's go for a walk. And we did, even though maybe I didn't feel like it, but I did anyway. My friends who brought in food and said, let's have some lunch together. I made this lasagna, or let's go shopping. We haven't shopped in a really long time. And did I feel like getting out of the door? No. But, so for friends, number one, don't take it personally when they say no, and try again and be persistent and don't give up. Because when you decide that it's personal and they're not going to help, and I do want to talk about guilt. There are people who feel very guilty. They feel, listen, if I'm having fun now, maybe I shouldn't be having fun again, because this is horrible hole in my heart and hole in my life. And, now here I am having fun. I mean, that's not the way maybe
and the guilt comes from so many different things, because not all of us have had the same relationship in the past, whether it be a parent or a sibling or a spouse. We haven't had that same relationship. There are horrible relationships.
Yes, there are.
Where their whole marriage, they were arguing and fighting and knew they weren't staying together. There were soulmate relationships, that where you thought you could never live without that person in the whole world. I remember there was a time where my husband, he was a smoker, but he was coughing a lot, and during the middle of the night when he didn't even know it. And I remember laying and praying, and he wasn't even like, he didn't have an illness or anything at this point. And I remember praying and saying, please, God, I won't be able to make it without him. I will not be able to survive as a human being in this world without him. He takes care of me. He's my rock. He's my strength. And I won't be able to do it. Don't let anything ever happen to him.
Wow.
Right. And I prayed that several times, because I was always afraid of that cough and, what that was about. And, even though he wasn't sick at
right.
that point.
Right.
But the amazing thing is, as human beings, we don't really know our strength.
That's the truth.
Until we're put in situations
that's the truth.
after a loss, when we're grieving and we're mourning. And from day one, I never thought that's, why you're in the fog. You think, I can't move on.
Yeah.
Oh, I said it, Lisa, move on.
Yeah.
But you really believe that you can't. So Lisa and I do these videos to tell you that you can believe that you can.
Yes.
You can, and you have a choice.
That's
the thing. So you may not have a choice at first. You may not have a choice the first 6 months. You may not have a choice the first year or two. But thereafter, the pain is still deep. The heartache is still there. You still cry with every other song that you put on the station, but you have a choice to shut the station off and to get outside of the house, or to go see a friend that helps you laugh.
Right.
So you have choices, and that's what I believe.
Yeah, that's true. And taking back control of your life is very powerful, by the way. Knowing that you can make a decision. It took a long time for me to sell my house. Too many memories. It was very difficult. It took me 6 years, and probably I should have sold it after the first or second year. It's expensive to live there.
I'm still there, Lisa.
I couldn't take, 6 years. But you know what? After I did it, I said, wow, I'm so glad I did that. I really needed to do it. I need to be in another place. It's another part of my life, and let me tell you how much fun I had in my apartment. I was the one who decorated my whole apartment, got all new furniture, gave myself a budget, and I had so much fun. I realized I had never done that before by myself. It was so empowering. And it was wonderful, just wonderful. So again, number one, we're saying that you have to find your own rhythm. But number two, we're also saying that you need to try to be as open as possible within your own time frame, within your own self, because there's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of life still to live. I mean, I feel very blessed. And yet I lost my mother when I was 2. I lost my father when I was 30. I lost my new mom when I was 46. And I lost my husband when I was 55. And people say to me, oh my goodness, that's just terrible heartache. And I look at it and say, I was so blessed to have these people in my life, no matter how long they were in my life. Thankful, just thankful. So
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
my
you wouldn't
decision
be
on
where you
how.
are today. You wouldn't have had these experiences if
That's right.
they weren't in your life.
Right. It's
And
who
you
I,
need to be thankful for that.
correct, correct. And it's who I am as a result of all those situations. And you said it before, we're stronger than we even think. It's incredible to me. My mother used to say to me all the time, you are so strong, Lisa. And that was when a boyfriend broke up with me. And she said, you don't have to go to school the next day because he's in your class. And I said, no, I have to face it. And I did. And that's just a little thing as a teenager.
Just putting one foot in front of the other,
That's right.
and recently I had another hard day. I had a hard day. And I prayed in the morning and I felt it. Somehow, in the morning, you're feeling this sense of overwhelm. So, and I do have them occasionally. And I was feeling just sorry for myself, honestly.
Okay. Okay.
And I got a phone call from my sister-in-law and my niece, who's 21, 22, maybe 23 now. Oh boy, I've lost track of time here. But they were getting their nails done. They both had the day off, and they said, hey, we're thinking about taking a ride. You want to take a ride out east and maybe stop at a winery and have a glass of wine? And I was like, I stood up in the chair and I ran in and got dressed and I said, I'll be waiting.
Wow.
And that little thing, by them calling and giving me that invitation, she didn't know I was having a bad,
Yes.
For all she knew, I was working and doing
Sure.
my thing every day like I do.
Sure.
But that little act of kindness on her part changed my world.
Yes.
Because it changed my frame of mind, my frame of thinking. I stepped outside of the box. I looked nice. I put jewelry on. I felt good. Makeup, I get in the car. We laughing. We had the music on. We're singing. And we had 3 wineries that day. And
Wow.
when I got home, it was probably 5 o'clock at night, 6 o'clock even, I think it was. And when I said goodbye, I had sent them a text afterwards. I was so thankful that they just changed my world. So think of being on the other end of that too, when you know somebody who's had a loss. And now
Right.
you watching today could even be the person who's had
That's
the
right.
loss.
That's
Okay.
right.
But other people have had loss too.
That's right.
So reach out to somebody, because even though it's hard for you, you might be changing their world in that moment at that day, but you'll also change yours.
That's right. I want to applaud you for being open and for accepting their invitation. Now, some people would say, I don't feel like it, I don't want it, all this other business. But the fact that you said yes and you embraced it, isn't that wonderful?
Well, the thought, it actually crossed my mind the minute that she started asking, but it was probably only for about 20, 30 seconds where I thought, no, I just want to stay in my jammy
Yes.
pants and watch
Yes.
movies all day,
Yes. Yes.
And then I know better because of what we do and the things that we talk about. And I'm positive, we're positive people generally.
Yeah.
So after about 30 seconds, I said, no matter how hard this is in my own head, no matter how hard this is, I'm going and I'm stepping outside and I'm going to change my frame of thinking and feeling today. And I purposely did it. We talk about that in so many of our videos, purposely and planning. And I think even last week we talked about that a little bit. But it's hard, but it's vital. It's vital
Yep,
to do that,
yep,
right? So
definitely.
that's what I did, and it was the best day of my life.
Good for you. Good for you. Wonderful. I I want to make sure because there's this wonderful poem that we always talk about, and it's just so symbolic of what we're talking about here and how important this is and how you look at life. And I want to make sure it's a poem by a rabbi, and it was said. I said it, of course, at my husband's memorial service, and it's written on the memorial website, and I love it because it really says everything about what we're talking about loss, and about still celebrating that person's life. I want to say it now, okay?
Okay.
I love this. Okay. At the rising of the sun and its setting, we will remember you. At the blowing of the wind and the chill of winter, we will remember you. At the opening of the buds and the rebirth of the spring, we will remember you. At the blueness of the skies and the warmth of summer, we will remember you. At the rustling of the leaves and the beauty of autumn, we will remember you. At the beginning of the year and when it ends, we will remember you. For as long as we live, because you are part of us, we will remember you. I love that. That's everything that I believe. And I hope that resonates with other people because that really says it all.
Yeah.
They live in our hearts forever. Every single person who was a part of our lives. And as long as we keep those memories alive and figure out how to create our new life, that's exactly the love that we've had for that person and the love they had for us.
And I'd like to invite anybody listening today, if you have any kind of special prayer or saying or spiritual words or anything that really resonate with you, share that with us. Leave a
Please,
comment today.
please, please.
And like and follow our page and share it with a friend who may need it most, because we try and on our videos, we try and talk about some niche topics, some topics that are really deep that you don't get a chance to talk about even in a weekly or a monthly bereavement group. So we're hoping that some of our words and experiences can help in some small way. So if there's anything that you can share with us, please, please do.
Yes. And talking about that, we are talking about starting a widowers support group, a bereavement group, a little different from some others. It will probably be on Zoom so other people from other areas can join us. And we'll figure out what that's going to be, and we will introduce it as soon as we have it together. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. We actually should just do a video on that and some of
Yes.
the things that we'll cover and talk about and share.
Yes.
So
Great.
that you can expect in the next few weeks.
Great. Talk about what you're currently doing. I know you have some new things happening.
Yeah, so most of you who have heard our videos before know that I do the Legacy Book Project. And that's something that really fulfills a family, an individual and their family, and future generations that they'll never get a chance to meet, because I have a concise way that I withdraw information from you on a timeline to create the story of your life. And it's really a fun project. I've been able to do it in 4 weeks. We create a 12 by 12 hardcover book with some photos in there and mainly words, because this is your life and your story. And like Lisa said, you want people to remember you? Well, people will remember you by having this tangible object in their hands so they can learn all about you. Ancestry.com is wonderful, but do you know the details of how they spent their every day and what they love to do on the weekends? And we don't know all that. That's all erased in history once you pass. So that's why this project is so important to me. And I got an aha moment about a month ago, I guess. And no, it was a little more than a month now. And I believe it was God who said to me, you're able to help one person at a time. Okay. Teach people to do what you do, and you'll widen that circle and be able to help so many other people and their families to leave their own thumbprint in history. So I woke up, and that's when I get my most inspiration, at 3 or 4 in the morning. And I started to write, and I came up with a certification workshop that you can take. And you can go to my website, eastenddoulacare.com or susancapurso.com, either or, and you'll see the Legacy Certification tab up top, and you can read more information about that. But whether you're looking for a stream of income through your business, maybe you work with seniors and this is something additional you'd like to bring in, or you're recently retired, or even a stay-at-home mom or baby boomer or empty nester who want to give back and help in some small way. But it's not such a small way, it's a big, profound way. You're helping families leave their treasure. So read more about that, and I can help you get that certification. It's a one-day event. We spend the day together, you and I, via Zoom, so we can cover a lot of material, and we don't have to travel too far. And
you have an event. I have like an intro coming up, right? You want to announce that intro? That's February 9th.
Yeah, I'm looking to do a free webinar that talks a little bit about that and legacy and why it's so important. So you'll hear more information coming soon about that. And Lisa, we're excited about this bereavement workshop. We're going to get the details down on paper in the next couple of weeks, and we'll let you know some more about that as well.
Sounds great. Sounds great.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you for letting me share this day. I will watch Ghost later and drink a little cup of wine to my husband, and continue to get all kinds of really nice messages from so many people from our lives, which is really comforting, really nice.
Well, enjoy your day. I hope it brings you peace.
Thank you.
Peace and blessings today.
Yes, thank you. Okay,
and
everyone.
We'll see you all next week. Thank you for
Sounds
joining
good.
us.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.